Hey guys, it's Jen. So before I get started on this week's stash kit video, I wanted to show you the photos I'm going to be using. I have a whole bunch of photos today that I want to use, and let's see, there's a whole bunch. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 photos. And I'm going to do a page plus like a little insert that's going to be 6 by 12. So this is from a Christmas party we had last year, and I made a bunch of little props. Malia used this photo in her layout that she shared in last week's video. And I'm going to be using these two photos on the main layout because that's our family. And then the rest of the photos are my extended family. And I wanted to include those as well because the Cook family party is a big thing that we do every single year, and I want to see all the families, and these photos were just funny. So it was important to me to include all of these photos. These photos are 2 by 3. So they're printed really small. And what I'm going to do is I have them laid out so this one will be on the back of this one on the back of this one, and so forth. So these will all be on the backs of each other. And then I do have one extra space. I'll do some journaling in that space. And then you can see that this is a little bit bigger than this page protector. I'll probably cut the page protector down just a little bit, and I'll be using my little, sorry, let me reach here, my Project Life, what is this thing called? You know, it heats up and then you can seal these together. I'll make sure I link to it below. You know how I get when I'm trying to think of names of things. Anyway, so I'll be using that to create my pockets. And so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to do the layout first, and then I'll work on the pocket page second. I did really quickly also want to point out that I went to the American Crafts Warehouse sale and I bought these two things from the Pink Paisley Merry and Bright collection. This is their last year's Christmas collection. So it's just 2 sticker sheets, and I'm throwing them into my kit. So just FYI. There's no rules when you make a kit from your stash, right? You can pull whatever you want. And if you buy a kit, there's no rules either. You can throw in from your stash whatever you want to. So I am taking advantage of that, and I'm going to use these right now. So the photos on the main layout are the ones of me and my family, and I remembered that I had this paper that has all the frames on it from SEI, and what I'm going to do is cut those frames out and use them on this layout. I'm going to keep the layout fairly simple. It's not going to have journaling. I'm going to keep the journaling on the other part of the layout with the smaller photos, and so this layout will just have a large title, and I want to keep it pretty simple. I'm just cutting the photos down. I printed those on my Canon Selfie so they have a bit of a border on them. I always print my photos with a border because I like the way the white border helps them stand out amongst the layers of paper and stuff that I usually like to put on my layouts. So I skipped through me cutting all of those frames out. I didn't think you needed to watch me do that. What I'm going to do is layer them up around my photos. So instead of using them as a frame or as like a little tab or something to journal on, I'm just going to cluster them all around my photos. And I really like the way this looks. And the silver is a nice touch. I wanted to use some gold on these layouts actually, but because the snowflakes in the background of the little photo booth that we had are silver, I decided that was a better look. And I just like the lightness of silver. I'm usually a gold girl, but I think that silver has a really light and airy feel, so I'm leaning toward it lately. I really like it. I feel like gold has a really warm, rich feel, and silver has kind of like a snowy, I don't know, it's more snowy than Christmassy. I don't know if that even makes sense, but I'm just going to, I cut some of the frames in half so I could use them both on the top and the bottom of the layers, and that way I just get more use out of them. And there's lots of tips like those in me and Arit Landgraf's new class called Die Cut Diversity, and if you want to check that out, you can head over to classes.craftyjenschow.com. We've had a really great response. People are loving the class, and we had so much fun making it, so check that out if you haven't already. Be a great Christmas gift. And I got a bunch of adhesive on my photo, and it's like so much that I can't even use my adhesive remover to get it all off, and so I'm going to end up covering that up with some embellishment later. I really like the way that a bunch of small frames make a larger frame around the photo. It just gives a cool look, and I'm really digging the vibe. If paper can give a vibe, I think it can. Anyway, just layering those papers up, making sure I have the corners covered, and making sure that some of the frames are a little less intricate. So I want a good balance of intricate versus less intricate, if that makes any sense. And so that's going to go in the center of my layout. I'm going to just place some paper on the sides to give it a little bit more interest. I think I've used this candy cane stripe paper from the Schow Christmas Magic collection on every layout I've made with this kit so far. I think it's just cute. I love a diagonal stripe. So I'm pulling out those new stickers that I got. Well, they're last year's, but new to me, from Pink Paisley Merry and Bright. And I'm going to use a couple of these on my layout. I really like the way that they look with these frames. And I thought about adding in some of this green paper, but it felt too heavy. I really wanted to keep this light. The photos are pretty light, even though we're wearing some dark colors. But I wanted to keep it fresh and fun. So I'm going to use a little bit of this glitter paper, and it does get glitter everywhere. I'm okay with it. I like the chunkiness, the way it looks. And so I'm going to just put that on the sides as well. So I'm kind of building out from the center. And it's just a little hint of the glittery paper, which I like. So just adhering those on the sides. I'm not worrying about it being too straight or anything like that. I don't really care. It's kind of a messy photo mat, which I've been doing a ton lately. So now I'm going to work on my title, and it's going to say Cook Family Christmas Party 2014. And this layout is really all about the tradition that we have of this party. And I'm going to use some wax paper. Oh, before I do that, I forgot. I decided I wanted to add a little something to the background. I recently got these modeling pastes at Tuesday Morning. They're from Artsy. I looked everywhere online for them, couldn't find them. But it came with a silver and a gold, and I did link to some other silver embossing pastes that you can try if you want to. So I'm just using this stencil from Simon Says Stamp. It's the tiny heart stencil, and it's really sweet. I love it a lot. And just stenciling some gold hearts on the background. A lot of this will get covered up, but I really like the look that it gives in the end. I do mess up in a few spots, but I'm not going to let it bother me. I was too impatient to let this dry before I put it back on top. You can see I messed up big time right there. So what I kind of do I thumbs down that. What I kind of do to make it seem like not such a big deal is after I clean off my stencil, I'm going to use some silver glimmer mist and just sprinkle that all around in amongst the hearts, and that kind of makes those big blobs that I made at the top left look like they're ink splatters or something. And when this when these ink splatters dry, they look really pretty, and they just work really well with this layout. I really love those splatters. So you can see that my photo cluster overtakes a lot of that modeling paste, and I'm okay with that. So in an effort to keep this light and bright, I'm using these white, they have a black polka dot on them that's really tiny thickers, and I couldn't find, these aren't available anymore, but I'm also using some red glitter thickers. And these are the journal font, but there is a newer one from Schow that's available that's almost exactly the same, and I've linked to that one. And I like the way, I was first hesitant to use the red glitter because I've already got silver glitter, but I really end up liking the way it looks, and I kind of think I won't use red glitter any other time than for Christmas layouts, and so I better use it. So I am. I sometimes get down on myself about, making perfect layouts. I think a lot of us do this. But does that really matter? Absolutely, it does not. As long as I have fun making it and my story is told, that's what's important, really. And so sometimes I let it fly, and that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put down my title, and I'm overlapping it with the frame just to kind of tie the title into the rest of the layout. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I do this a lot where I'll overlap things so that it feels like everything is kind of tied together. This also would have looked fine resting on top, but I like the way it looks overlapped. And I also wanted to make sure I had an equal distance from the title to the top of the layout and from the bottom of the photos to the bottom of the layout. So I'm paying attention to things like that as well. So after I get the title down, I'm going to fiddle with its placement just a little bit, just to make sure it's centered over the top. And I'm just going to add a couple of embellishments. I really want to keep this simple, as I mentioned before. So I pulled out this little sticker that's a banner from that pink paisley sticker sheet, and it's a little too small to put on the bottom, which is where I originally wanted to put it, but it fits perfectly at the top above the title, and I really like the way it looks. And I add a little green star up there as well, and I kind of like the way that it works its way from smallest, and then it kind of steps down through to the title and then to the photos, which is the largest. So that's a way to draw your eye down, is go from small to big like that. I'm going to put that fa la 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 sticker in the middle of the photos, and that just helps bring them together and draw your eye down toward the bottom after you look at the photos. And I really like the way the circle looks layered over the top of it. I am covering up some of the la-las, but it doesn't matter because you know what it says. And I put a little strip of washi tape underneath both of those. And I like the green on that circle. It just brings in the tiny, teeniest bit of green, and I have just the littlest bit up at the top. And there's a little bit of green in the photo, so I thought it was nice to just bring in a tiny little bit of it. And now I'm sprinkling some sequins. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to keep this simple, so at first I do sprinkle a whole bunch of sequins all around. I thought it kind of looked like snow, or it looked kind of pretty, and it does look okay. But in the end, I will just put two little sequins, one in the middle of the snowflake on that circle, and then one in the middle of the star at the top. And that's going to finish off the layout portion of this video. Now I'm going to move on to the other part. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start on my little pocket page now. I've got it set up the way I want to. I'm going to trim a little bit off the bottom and the top so there's not this leftover space. I'm going to put a little title here and then some journaling on this card. And then on the back of this, I'll put maybe some sort of decorative element I'll glue to the back of this. I just wanted to kind of catch you up on what I'm going to do. I'm going to trim a little bit off the side as well. So like I mentioned before, these are 2x3 photos. And then this is 2 by a little bit over 4. And I've gone ahead on my typewriter and typed up the names of all the people in these photos. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue all of those onto the photos. And then I'll come back and kind of get these all put together and get my title and journaling done. So I went ahead and typed up my journaling as well on that little card. And here I'm trying to figure out a title. So I thought I would use these little Studio Calico letters to do White Elephant Pajama Party. And I was just doing it diagonally on these white lines. I don't like the way it looks. I don't end up liking it. And I thought that even though it was nice to bring in that red candy cane stripe to this portion of the layout, it just doesn't end up working for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll end up doing, I'll not use that paper at all. I'm going to use something else for my title. And you'll see me kind of realize that as I get half of my title down, and I'll move on. So here's where I'm going to realize this isn't working, and I decide to, on a 2x4 piece of paper, to adhere one of the frames, and I'm just going to trim off the edges of it, and then I'm going to actually trim the white paper around the frame. So here you can see I've written in my brush lettering, White Elephant Pajama Party. The pajama is using the basic gray letter stickers that I included in the kit. And on the back of it, it's just white because that's where I glued that cardstock. And I'm putting a basic gray candy cane that was in the kit, my original kit. And then this Merry word is from last year's Felicity Jane Christmas kit. And I'm just putting a sequin on that as well. So that's going to complete that little card for me. So now I am ready to make sure that all of my photos are arranged in the way that I want them to be so that I can get a little bit of the top and bottom cut off and a little bit on the side too. So what I'm doing is just taking a ruler and I'm using this poker tool to kind of score the page protector so that I can cut it on those score lines. So I zoomed in and it's a little bit closer than it needs to be, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm just scoring the lines where I think that I can cut the sheet protector. And I'm going to first fuse it and then cut it. So I'm just going to arrange everything, make sure it looks good, and then I can go ahead and I'm going to do the side first. So my fuse tool was plugged into the left of me, and I'm a right-handed person, so I should have plugged it into the right of me. The cord got in the way. It was really annoying. And I just put down that craft mat because it's heat resistant and this thing is hot. I should really have a glass mat, but I don't have one, so I'm just, you know, working with what I got. So I didn't really need to fuse the top, but I did because I wasn't thinking about it. All I really needed to do was cut the top because I need to slide in my photos anyway, but that's okay. So I'm just cutting right below where I fused it there, and I'll cut around the other portions just onto the right hand side of where I fused it. So now I've got my little pocket, and I'm just going to slide in the photos. I'm going to slide in all of the photos on the right hand side first, and then I will fuse a line down the center, and then I'll end up fusing in between the photos. So you can see I left myself just enough space, and I'm just using my regular plastic ruler. It does come with a little ruler, but it was too small to go the full 12 inches. And here's where that cord really gets in the way. This was bad on my part. Do not do that. Put the cord on the side of you. So here I'm going to use the tool that it comes with to fuse in between the photos because I just need a short ruler. And it works well. It's important to get the fuse nice and hot before you use it too. Otherwise it won't work very well. So after I go in between each photo, I'm going to slide in the cards on the left hand side, and this is kind of a tight squeeze, so I just used, I think, a pencil, the back of a pencil to help me push these down in there, and it worked fine. And I'm just making sure to leave a little bit of space in between, and I'm going to go ahead and slide that card in as well. There's a little bit more space on that top one because it's an odd shape, and that's totally fine. And I do end up fusing the top closed because it's such a small pocket. I was worried about them slipping out. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the edge of this little ruler and fuse the top closed. And I didn't quite leave myself enough room, so I'm going to move it down and try again. And there's that cord getting in my way. Okay, and then that is going to finish up my little pocket. So you can see the fuse tool works really well for little inserts like this. So here's the finished layout, and here you can see the 12 by 12, and then this little, it's not quite 6 by 12 insert will sit next to it, and you can just flip it over and see both sides. So I've just included a little bit of green on each layout right here, and right here, just trying to tie it all in together because there is a little bit of green in the photos. And I think that will look really nice in my Christmas album, which I don't have a Christmas album right now, but I'm thinking I'm going to throw all of my Christmas layouts into one album because I like the idea of being able to see all of the Christmas stuff in one place. So go ahead and do that. And that is going to be this week's stash kit video. I'd love to see what you're making with your stash kits, especially if they're Christmas kits. So be sure to leave a comment below. If you have any questions, head over to my blog at CraftyJenSchow.com, where I'll have still photos of these layouts along with much more information and links to everywhere you can find all of the available products that I used. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.